नमस्कार दोस्तों, शिपिंग पाठशाला में आपका एक बार फिर स्वागत है। वेलकम टू शिपिंग पाठशाला। आई एम प्रोफेसर DN Maurya. Today I shall talk on ports and harbour. Harbour is a sheltered body of the water which is used for mooring or anchoring of the ship. A harbour need not be equipped with the facilities for loading or unloading of cargo on board ship. But a port is a place on the sea coast which is supposed to be equipped for handling of the cargo on board ship, that is loading of cargo from ship to shore and vice versa. So the major difference between the port and harbour is that harbour need not have a facilities for loading and unloading of the cargo, whereas port must have facilities for loading and unloading of the cargo. If you have been to Mumbai, then you must have seen on Gateway of India, go to Gateway of India, look into the sea towards east side. You will find that hundreds of vessels are parked there, anchored there. That is the boats, yachts, tugs, vessels. You will find that large number of vessels are anchored there. So these vessels are not doing the cargo operation. They are there maybe for maintenance purpose, changing of crew, doing some administrative formalities and so on so, but not doing the cargo operation. So harbour is a larger area than the port. A harbour can have one port, two port or even three port. But port cannot have a harbour. There cannot be harbour within the port, but there is always a port within the harbour. Okay. So this is the major difference between the port and harbour. Now a port can have number of terminals, more than one terminal. If the port is handling multiple cargo and size is big, you will find that port will have multiple terminals. This can have a container terminal for handling of the containerized cargo. This can have a bulk terminal for handling of dry bulk, break bulk or general bulk cargo. This may have a liquid terminal for handling the liquid cargo. This may have the ro-ro terminal for handling of the vehicles. So there can be more than one terminal inside the port. Then further, a terminal can have more than one quay or one wharf. In old port, we used to use this word wharf, that is for bulk vessels. But in modern container port, we call it quay. Quay is a concrete platform on the piles built parallel to the sea bank for accommodating the vessel. So on one side of the quay, there are vessels coming from the seaside. Other side of the quay, there are places for cargo, movement of the cargo, movement of the trucks and so on so. Further, one quay or one wharf may have more than one berth. Like let us say, for example, we have got a quay length of 1 kilometer and port is getting vessels of 300 meter length, 300 meter LOA. So port can accommodate three numbers of 300 meter vessel by giving space in between, that is safety space of let us say 50 meter each. So 50 meter, two spaces, 100 meters and three vessels of 300 meter long, that is 900 meter. So 1 kilometer of the quay can accommodate three number of vessels, each of 300 meter LOA. So this is how the classification of the various terminology inside the port. But a berth cannot have more than one vessel at a time. Berths can accommodate only one vessel at a time. Vessel is serviced, loading, unloading completes, ships goes out, then only the next vessel can come to the same berth. So harbour can have more than one port, a port can have more than one terminal, a terminal can have more than one quay or one wharf, a quay can have more than one berth, but one berth can have only one vessel at a time. Now coming to the types of port. As per business model, we classify the ports in three categories. The first category, we call it service port. Service ports are those ports where all the complete range of services are provided by the port itself. That is, port will own, develop, maintain all the equipment and provide the manpower for handling of cargo in the yard as well as on the berth, that is ship to shore. So, complete range of services provided by the port by owning the equipment, having the own manpower. This is known as service port. Example of service port is the port of Colombo in Singapore or Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania. In India, all non-major ports are service ports. Even some of the major ports are also service ports. Second category of the port is tool port. In tool port, the port authority owns, develops and maintains the equipment. This also carries out the cargo operation on the land side. On the land side means in the yard or in the shed. But at the berth, cargo operation from ship to shore and vice versa is done through the outsourcing. The port will grant the license to the ship agency, to the cargo owner or to the ship owner to get the own equipment and get the own labor for carrying out the stevedoring operation. Stevedoring operation means loading, unloading of cargo from ship to shore and vice versa. If the port has got a crane at particular berth and operating at a tool port, then this particular crane can be given on hire to the private party. Private party means either shipping agent, vessel owner or the cargo owner who is going to do the cargo operation. But port will not undertake the operation of the cargo from ship to shore and vice versa, that is loading and unloading of cargo on vessel. This is known as tool port. Example of tool port is port of Chetgaon in Bangladesh. Third type of port, we call it landlord port. Landlord port is only owner of the port. At the most, they can provide the facilities on seaside. Seaside facilities means basic infrastructure, that is dredging of the channel for the ship to come. Then you can have the floating lights, then floating buoys, searchlight, VTMS. These type of facilities can be provided by the landlord port on the seaside. On the land side as well as on the berth, that is the point of meeting between sea and land, all the facilities are created by the private party. And they do the operation by having their own manpower. They pay the royalty to the port for using these facilities on lease for a long period. Royalty could be in terms of rupees per ton of cargo for the bulk cargo or rupees per TEUs in case of containerized cargo. So these types of ports are developed by the private entrepreneur by taking the land on lease. Land means you are talking about the land near to the coast, we call it seafront, near to the port, because port can be developed only at the sea coast. So they take the land on lease from the state government. This is the area of the state government. You know, there are 3 lists: center list, state list and concurrent list, depending upon who has the jurisdiction. So on the land, jurisdiction of the state government. So therefore the land can be taken on lease by the private party only from the state government. So state government will grant the lease on the basis of the tendering, selecting the bidder which can give you the maximum revenue, which can provide, which can quote, which can offer the maximum revenue royalty to the port. He will get the contract, that is signing of the lease agreement between the state government and the private party. So here all the facilities are created by the private party and all the services provided by the same private party to the customer. Customers means shipping line and the cargo owner. Ship owner, cargo owner, both are the main customer to the port. So these are the 3 types of ports according to the business model. Apart from this, In India, we classify the ports in two broad categories. These two broad categories are the major ports and non-major ports. Major ports, we call the ports which are under the Major Port Authority Act 2021. Before this act, there was another act, we call it MPT Act 1963, Major Port Trust Act 1963, which has been now repealed after the new act came into the place from November 2021. So all the ports which are regulated under the MPT Act 1963 are now Major Port Authority Act 2021, they are known as major ports. These ports are under central government and regulated by the Ministry of Shipping. Mr. Nitin Gadkari is the shipping minister. Okay, now coming to the non-major ports. Non-major ports are the ports which are not under the MPA Act 2021. So these non-major ports could be the minor ports, intermediate port or the private port. Minor ports means ports of smaller size. Smaller size means having less volume, cargo handling is less. Then intermediate size means having more than the minor port. And private ports, that is the ports which are developed by the private party. So they are known as non-major ports. So broad classification, major ports and non-major ports. The major ports in India, on the west coast we have got 6 number of major ports, that is, let us say, starting from Gujarat, northwest, first state, it has got a port, it's known as Kandla Port. Now it has been renamed as Deen Dayal Port. Next state, Maharashtra, it has got 2 major ports, Mumbai Port and Jawaharlal Nehru Port. Third one, next to this one is Goa, that is the Marmugao Port. Next is Karnataka, New Mangalore Port. Next is Kerala, that is the Cochin Port. So these are the 6 major ports on the west coast of India. On the east coast, starting from West Bengal, we have got a major port, Kolkata and Haldia Port. Kolkata and Haldia both are same under one particular administration. Okay. Then after Kolkata Port, coming to the Paradip Port, that is in Odisha. Next is Visakhapatnam Port Trust, that is in Andhra Pradesh. Then coming to Tamil Nadu, it has got 3 ports. One is the Chennai Port, other is the Tuticorin Port. Tuticorin Port is now known as P.O. Chidambaram Port. And third one is a Ennore Port, we call it Kamarajar Port. So this is the only port which is under the Companies Act. So on the east coast, we have got 6 ports under the central government. Out of 6, 5 ports are regulated under the Major Port Authority Act 2021 and 1 port, that is Ennore Port, is regulated under the Company Act. So 6 ports by the central government on the ECI, 6 ports on the WCI, total 12 number of ports. Non-major ports in India, there are more than 200 non-major ports. Like in Gujarat, you have got Navlakhi, you have got Porbandar, Pipavav, and so on so. In Maharashtra, Dharamtar, then you have got other ports like Dighi, that is a private port, and then JSW. So these are the some ports in the Maharashtra. So out of 200 plus ports, maximum ports, that is maximum non-major ports are operative in Gujarat and Maharashtra. The administration of these non-major ports, that is the minor port and intermediate ports, are by the respective state government. State governments have formed the maritime boards, like in Gujarat, you have got Gujarat Maritime Board, Maharashtra Maritime Board. These are the authorities or institutions which will regulate the working of non-major ports, whereas major ports are regulated by the Ministry of Shipping. Private ports are regulated by the company, respective entrepreneur, respective company which are owning. But they have to only ensure that they do everything in line with the agreement, lease agreement signed with the state government. So these are the various types of ports in India. So we have discussed the ports classification on the basis of business model as well as port classification in India. With this, I finish the chapter on introduction to port and harbour. Those who have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe it so that you can see the upcoming videos on ports and shipping. With this, bye bye. See you in next session.